What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for The Oval on BET. This is season 3, you guys. Episode number 21, right? I believe, yeah, 21. The episode is titled Ugly Politics, you guys. Now, before we jump into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not subscribed to the channel, then I'm going to need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. I need you guys to do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to my channel, turning on your notifications, and also sharing the video. And you guys, with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss The Oval on BET, shall we? All right, guys, so I'm going to be honest with you. The first 9 minutes of the episode, my notes are going to be just from my memory. I do have them typed up, but they're from my memory because when I got to my phone that I take my notes on, it was dead, so I didn't feel like going back and rewatching the first 9 minutes. I just started from where I was. So we're gonna start there. So we picked up the episode where we left off last week's episode. And you guys remember in last week's episode that Victoria had went into Jason's room, right? She came out of Jason's room when the doctors and the nurses went in because he started crashing, right? So at this point, they have escorted Victoria out of the room, and Hunter is with Victoria. He's asking Victoria, like, what did you do, right? Victoria at this point was playing the doting mother, the caring mother, the loving mother, right? But Hunter knows that is a crock of bull. So he once again asks her, what did you do? She says she did what needed to be done. So then at one point, the doctor came out, right? And Victoria was screaming, no, no. And then the doctor says he didn't make it. And she just passed out on the floor, and I died laughing, right? That shit was hilarious to me. And also, I do want to say, though, if I do leave anything out with these first 9 minutes, feel free, drop down in the comment section and say, hey, JB, you missed this, you missed that, da-da-da-da-da. And we'll discuss it, right? So then we move over to Richard and Nancy's crib, right? You guys remember in last week's episode, Barry flipped out when he saw Kareem in the house, right? And he was like, so he got escorted out by Richard, right? So Richard, at one point, he was like, Barry's like, Richard told them, we're safer in numbers, which, Barry's like, I understand that, right? But you want me to sit here and break bread with the dude that I caught sleeping with Sharon? And Richard was like, I get what you're saying. He says, okay, Dad, how about you invite over the man that slept with Mom? Picky's dad. Well, that's your grandpappy. He says, touche, right? He's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. So then, Barry's like, well, I'm a grown ass man. I'll get my own place, man. He says, okay. What do the young people say? Bounce. So he was going to go in the house. He's like, wait, whoa. Where are you going? He says, I'm going to get my stuff. He says, that stuff that's in that room, in that house that you have, I paid for it. So grown ass man, get out and buy your own stuff. I was like, hey, he ain't lying. So then, he went back inside where everyone was eating breakfast. Well, not breakfast, they were eating dinner, right? So Kareem told them what happened to him, right? Now, you guys definitely can correct me about this one because I can't remember what landmark he said he was at. I don't know if he said he was at Mount Rushmore or if he was at the Washington Monument. But either way it go, they took him to this tiny room. They hung him upside down, right? They told him that if he told anyone what happened, that they would take him back there, throw him out of that tiny window, and then make it look like, say that he committed suicide. I was like, wow, that's very elaborate. But y'all keep saying that for everybody. Y'all said that for just about everyone that has been unlived on this show, that they will know. I'm thinking about the haves and the have-nots with that cop. I'm thinking about the haves and the have-nots. But I mean, that is really Tyler Perry's MO when it comes to characters that are murdered by someone. The MO is always played off as if they committed suicide, and I'm like, people. Oh, no. They did do that on this show, right? Jean's boyfriend committed suicide. Which, how do you commit suicide? How do you kill? Okay, yes, he may have killed Jean, right? Allegedly, but how do you then commit suicide with a gun and fall forward? You're gonna fall flat. You're not gonna fall. You're not gonna. Okay, I don't even want to get into Jean or her boyfriend situation again because that was the dumbest explanation that I've ever heard, and the cops were incompetent, right? So Richard tells him, "Hey, we're all safe, right?" And Kareem was like, "No offense to you, but how are we safe? Like, they're powerful. Correct. But, Nancy and Sharon are both saying, we're safe with Mr. Richard, and that's all I need, right? That's what Sharon said. So at one point, Kareem wanted to blame Barry for this whole situation. I'm like, how can you blame Barry for this? And Sharon even said it's my fault. And I'm like, Sharon, it's not your fault either. The fact that Hunter is a creep, no, that ain't got nothing to do with anybody. That is all on the White House and them coddling this man, this white man. But we're going to pause here, you guys, and we're going to move forward. All right, you guys. So then we move back down to where Sam and Kyle are, right? So remember, Kyle shot Sam in last week's episode. Well, Kyle didn't do a good. If he was aiming to kill, he sucks because he didn't kill Sam. Sam is, however, bleeding out, right? So Sam went to reach for the door handle, and Kyle shot the door handle off. I'm like, how dumb was that? I don't know what Kyle's thought process is because he's not making the best decisions. Once again, like I said in last week's review, right? There are only two people who have the code to this room. That is the vice president and that is Sam. So if you kill Sam, you can't get out of that. You can't get out of that cell. So you're trapped like a cage. You're trapped like a caged bird. So you can't go anywhere. So killing Sam does nothing for you, and the vice president is not going to help you. So what the hell, man? Like I'm kind of confused. And then you shooting Sam, right? That leaves you trapped down if the man dies, number one. Number two, you shooting that door off. Now neither one of you can get out, right? So Sam and Kyle at one point had a long back and forth dialogue with each other, right? That I'm not going to dig deep into. But at one point, Sam was like, I know you got to be running out of ammunition. And, Kyle's like, you don't know what I have. Well, you gave him one gun, right? So Sam still has, even though Sam is bleeding out, Sam has the upper hand over you, right? If you have one bullet left, Sam has two guns. You have one. 2, 1. You're at a disadvantage, right? So Sam told him to give him the gun. He says no. He says, reach for that phone. He's like, what, so you can shoot me again? Absolutely not. So then we move over to Sloan and Eli, right? So Sloan, she went into the room where Eli was, and she told him that Jason died, right? He says, I thought he was getting better. She says he was getting better. That was until she went into his room and came out. He was like, no, it can't be. She's like, it can, and it is. I've been around that woman. Yes, you would think she would be a loving, caring mother, but that's not who she is. She went into her son's room and she took him out. He just, believes that is, that is a stretch. I'm like, it's a stretch. But y'all just said, how is it a stretch when y'all are accusing Hunter and her of unliving all these people? How is that a stretch at this point, right? I'm just confused. How's that a stretch? Explain how is that a stretch if you guys are willing to go to Congress and say that you guys have all this proof against them, that they did this and they did that, and they're covering up these murders. How is that a stretch? I'm just drawing a blank. How? So he said he's wondering where Sam is, right? So he says he's gonna go and check on Sam, right? So then we move over to Priscilla and Alan, right? So Priscilla tells Alan, as she believes him when he says that Ellie didn't take herself out. Well, she didn't take herself out. That was a straight bullet, right? He says, so what do we do now? She says, well, we're meeting with the vice president, so he's the one that's going to be helping us, right? What he's going to do is he's going to take all the information that he has. He's going to take it to the Congress and to his party. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to evoke the 25th Amendment, right? He says, well, what if this doesn't work? And she says, well, why do you say that? She says, because I've been in meetings with both Sam and, I'm not Sam, but Donald and the president. And they are not going down without a fight. Like they will kill before they go down, right? Like they're not going down without a fight. And he's a little afraid, right? And honestly, at this point, I don't blame him for being afraid because, these people go to any lengths to stay in that office, right? Although Hunter has not done any bit of work since he's been in the office, and they've been in the office now at least a month, right? Hunter ain't done a lick of shit. But let's keep going, you guys. So we see Lily, right? So Lily, she's talking to Max, and she says to Max, you were right about him. He says, him who? She says, Bobby. He says, what do you mean? She says, he's in love with me. He says, oh, now you see it. He says, but do you feel the same way? She says, I've been dealing with a lot. He says, you didn't answer the question, right? So then she tells him she knows someone in Vermont and that's where she wants to go, right? So it's a guy that she knows in Vermont. He says, okay. And she says, and no one knows that I know him. He says, why do you think that? He says, your husband doesn't know? She says, no. He says, why do you think that? She says that they don't text, they don't call, they don't talk, they don't text, and they don't email. She just goes there. So I was like, you don't text, you don't email, and you don't talk. So when you go there, how do you know, how does he know you're there? And so you just pop up to his house? Like, how did y'all set up a rendezvous? Like, I was just literally sitting there thinking to myself that question. How do y'all set shit? So you just show up in Vermont whenever you are ready to show up in Vermont, and you go to this man's crib, and he answers the door for you. He's not married. He's single. And he just lets you just pop up to his place any old time you want to pop up. Okay, I guess. Wouldn't be me, but hey, whatever. So Max, while they're talking, Max tells her, he's telling her about Bobby, right? And, he said, she's like, Bobby's in the shower. He says, no, he's not. He says he's going to come out. She says, no, he's in the shower. He says he's going to come out. So Bobby comes out. Bobby had his shirt on with a towel around him, right? He was like, I'm like, so Bobby was never in that shower then. Bobby has a shirt on with a towel. Bobby was never in the shower. Bobby was listening to y'all, and Bobby just came out to see what was going on, right? So then Bobby goes back in. She's like, how did you know that? He was like, he's like, you can listen to the rhythm of the water, right? Which you can tell. I've noticed that you can, even as a kid, I noticed that, right? You can tell when a person is in the shower. You can listen to the water. You can hear when the water is hitting the bottom, just hitting the bottom of the shower. And you can hear when the water is hitting a body, right? She asked him that. He says that's their train. I'm like, that's common sense. You can literally listen. You can hear when the water starts up. It's hitting hard onto the shower, onto the shower. It's hitting hard on the tub. Then when a person steps into it, the vibrations change. And that's exactly what he said. The vibrations change, right? So where are we at, you guys? He says, I'll help you, right? But you gotta tell him. She's like, me? He's like, yeah, because if I help you, he's gonna keep looking for you, right? So she says, okay, I'll tell him when he gets out of the shower. He says, and he's gonna tell you that I told him, this, but play along with him for a little. Play along with him, right? Play along with him. So we're gonna pause here, you guys, and we're gonna move forward. All right, you guys, so then we see Grip, right? So Grip is over at Donald's house, and Grip is telling Donald that Sam went down, but he never came back up, right? He says, oh, that's a good thing. He says, but neither did Kyle. So he says, and I can't get in. He says, oh, shit, right? So he says, okay, well, how about we just let them both stay down there for a little while longer? Again, if y'all's plan is for him to hurt Sam, right? If Sam dies down there, you guys are back at square one. Why are y'all going for the kill shots? I'm just really stuck on this, right? Sam and VP are the only two that have the passcode to this cell. If y'all hurt either one of them, Kyle is stuck in there. Are y'all not thinking about that? Maybe they're not. I don't know. So at one point, Donald was like, he needs Lily to be brought to him. He doesn't want Grip to do it. He feels like Kyle can do it because Kyle is like a scalpel, clean cut. Grip is like a hammer, messy, right? I guess I don't know what that philosophy, what he was trying to say, right? So then he also tells him about Alan, right? That Alan went into his office, messed with some stuff, and he needs Grip on the standby. So then we see Bobby. So Bobby finally came out of the bathroom, right? And he says, you've been quiet. Are you okay? She says, yes. So then he tells her, Max told me about your conversation. She says, he did? He says, yeah. She says, when? He says, he called me when I was in the shower. And she told him what their conversation was. And she was like, he did. He says, yes. She says, so what did he tell you? He says, you tell me. I'm like, Bobby, you're not playing a good game. You're really not playing a good game. And Lily caught on. She says, oh, he told you that I'm pregnant. He says, yeah, I was about to ask you how many months you were. She says, I'm not fucking pregnant. She says, you're playing a game with me, and I don't like that shit. You playing a mind game. And she got pissed off and she walked off, which I was in agreement with her. Like, you are playing a mind game with me. What the fuck? So then we move over and we see Max. So Max is called Eli and saying that he's having a problem. He hasn't heard. He has a problem. He hasn't heard from Sam. And, Eli was like, "Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, right?" So he says that they need to go in. So Eli says, "Okay, well, what I can do is I can get you into my bunker, right?" And what he'll do is he'll send him the codes, right? So he tells him, send you the codes. You go, you do this, you do that, da 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 da, and you're in, right? So then Sloan comes in and she says, what's going on? He says, still no word from Sam. So he's going to send Bobby and Max in, right? So the next scene that came up, I'm skipping that scene. It was Sharon, Kareem, Nancy, and Richard, and Dale, right? I'm not going to go too deep into that scene because it's the same. It's kind of the same shit we've been dealing with Kareem and Sharon and Bob and Barry, right? Kareem tells her she should leave Barry alone. She says, "I know." It's the same back and forth. Nancy and Richard left out of the room to go cleaning dishes. That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say about that scene. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause here and we're gonna wrap up the episode, guys. All right, you guys. So we see Hunter and Victoria. So Hunter and Victoria have made it back to the White House, right? So Hunter and Victoria, they walk up the stairs, and once they get to a certain vantage point, he pushes her off of him, right? I mean, Victoria's a terrible mother, right? You ain't got no empathy, no sympathy, no nothing, right? And Hunter actually called her on that, right? Like, but I'm like, Hunter, and honestly, I gotta agree with Victoria at one point, right? Because she was talking about Hunter, like, you didn't care about them kids. So Hunter tells her he's gonna go to the Oval Office. She says, why? To watch some porn? He says, no, to do some work. I'm like, okay, so we are 3 seasons in, and you want to go and do some work in the Oval Office. Well, I guess he is going to actually do some work because Ellie ain't alive. Denise is dead. Hell, he ain't got nobody to have sex with unless he sends somebody to go. Well, yes, he does have somebody he wants to have sex with, but God, I just really don't like that storyline. I really don't, but hey, it is what it is. So then we move back over to Alan's crib, right? Oh, I forgot to talk about that with Priscilla. That Priscilla was trying to get him on board, right? He said he'll think about it. She says, you ain't gonna think about it. So she went to go make him she was gonna make some coffee. He says he don't have coffee. She says, okay, I'll make you some tea. So she went to go make some tea, right? So she's in the kitchen, right? So Donald shows up to Alan's apartment, right? And, he's telling him, like, he's very concerned, right? He says, he's concerned about him when he went into the Oval Office, right? And he's not quite sure that Alan is on his side. And Alan's like, I'm very much on your side. What do I have to do to prove it? He says, we'll get to that. It is a sexual vibe between Alan and Donald, right? Because a part of me just felt like Donald wanted to say, get on your knees and suck my... Like, I just really felt like Donald wanted to say that. Get on your knees and suck his meat, right? So then Alan says he's on his side, and so Donald asks him, so why did you go into my office? He says, well, I go into your office, here and there to, straighten things up, right? So he says, well, did you go in my office to take move anything, take pictures of anything? He says, no, I didn't do that, right? So then, as he was getting ready to leave, he spots Priscilla's purse, right? So he says, you got another woman? You got a woman in here with you? He says, no. He says, so you're carrying around purses now? He says, that is Ellie's purse. He's like, so if I go through this purse, I'm going to find Ellie's ID. He says, I'm pretty sure you will. So he grabs the purse. He says, you want to go through it? He says, no, I don't want to go through it, right? So then, as he's getting ready to leave, the teapot goes off. He's like, oh, you're making tea? He's like, yeah, it calms my nerves, right? So then he leaves. Priscilla's still in the kitchen, right? So when he leaves, he goes down to the parking lot where Brick is, right? He says she's up there with him. Take them both out. I was like, oh no, y'all got to get out of there. But it's 2 against 1. I mean, Brick is an agent though, so yeah, I don't really have that much of an advantage. Where's Alonzo when you need him? Where is Alonzo at, you guys? But hey, that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode overall. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your post notifications. Share the video. And until the next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands, you guys. Wear a mask. Socially distance. Be blessed. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.